Hi, in assembling this chair, these are the tools that I used. It's nice to have a ratchet driver on the Allen heads. Makes it a lot easier than using this. What I did was label all the fasteners. That makes it easier to find as you need them. And it's very important to differentiate between the T and the U because they have different heads on them. And it's important when assembling it. What I do is look at the instructions. They're pretty good on telling you what bolts you need to use. So it says use 2 T's. So I put them in this holder to make sure that I pulled the right one. This is the table that I use to assemble the chair on, and more about that later. So this is the table that I use to assemble this. You know, you look at the diagram, you make sure you've got it oriented the right way. That's the first step. This is the back. So it's just a matter of holding this up, pre-selecting the right fastener, in this case the T, and putting it in. So that's step one. You can kill the... So the hardest part of putting this whole chair together is orienting these armrests. You've got to get this orientation just right. And you spin this thing around and get it left, right, but there's a left side and there's a right side. You start off with the left side, that's the C. Now, what I've learned is the most important thing is to fasten this lower piece here first. That makes it a lot easier, and then you can work on the top piece. But if you do this one first while it's lined up, then that's good. But the important thing is to make this easy, you got to rotate this and set it down like that, and then set this on top thusly, and it makes it a lot easier to put the bolts in. It's important to use the right bolt here. It's got to be the Q, which is a little bit shorter. So then it's a matter of putting the bolt through and connecting it to the bottom piece of the chair. So I've attached the lowers. It's very important not to over tighten the bolts because you're going to have to play with this a bit, and they've got to stay fairly loose. So just 2 or 3 turns so it's fixed. Now the important thing is to rotate this around so you can get a better access to starting these bolts. In order to make it a little bit easier, I use a small Phillips screwdriver, and I'll send it through to the bolt hole on the top, and that gives me a better chance of putting this bolt into the bottom. Now it calls for, in this, the U bolt. So it's important to use the U bolt to this. This is the hardest thing to do in this whole assembly, is to put these arms onto the back. But if you do that way, you'll get a good start. And just maybe a little turn, then we can put the top in.
See where you put the screwdriver.
Yeah, the screwdriver just goes through the hole where the bolt's going to go, and that firms it up. Okay, so now it's time to put the right arm on. You know, they're labeled C and D, D being the right. So what I did was rotate it back around. I put this clamp down here because I'm working off this table. You don't want this thing to tip off and fall, which happened once, but I learned about the clamp. So now I've got it ready to put the lower bolts in. And once again, you got to use the right one, the Q's on the bottom. It's just a matter of running them through and putting it on. But having this bolted down or clamped down makes it, I don't have to hold it and try to center it all at the same time. So this is a tip. And by the way, this is the tool to use. If you don't have one of these, get one, and a small ratchet. It makes it a lot easier. Okay, now we're going to put on this bottom part E. I've noticed with this that as you set it in, you know, there's really no top or bottom to this thing. It's symmetrical. But a couple of times I had to spin it around. It wasn't lining up right, so I went like that to get it to line up right. And once again, it's calling for the Q bolts, and it's pretty straightforward as long as you have it sitting on like this, you know, up on something that you can get to. I suppose you could do all of this off the floor, but with my knees, that would have been impossible. So here we go. So now the bottom piece E is in. Now you got to go back and retighten everything because you left them loose. I should mention to you, it's really nice if you're using this tool. You can spin these in pretty quickly just by spinning your Allen head like that. So it goes a lot faster than using the ratchet. One other thing that I kind of noted was they give you these little covers to put over the bolt heads, and it's easier to do it now while it's up on the table rather than rolling around on the ground. But as you put them in, sometimes they won't go because the rattan or whatever it is in the way. So you've got to kind of work with it and pull it out of the way. Then you can put this on and snap it on there like that. So go and tighten everything, and then we'll get to the next step. So here's a critical piece. You know, when we got the first book of instructions, it shows this piece that we're looking at here, but it's different than the one that was in the box. And we got a fax set of instructions that match this. Now what we did wrong, we followed the first instructions and mounted it this way, and thinking that was right, but as it turned out, nothing worked. It wouldn't glide, it would set high, and so forth else. So the right way to do this, if your piece looks like this, is to put it on this way. Again, you use the T-bolts. It's easy to do. There's nothing to it. But believe me, unless you put it on this way, you're going to have a chair that doesn't work. Okay, so this is step 6, the connecting frame. They make a big point in the instructions saying, read it carefully and follow the instructions. Or I didn't see any instructions. If you look at this, it's got a recess on this side, and then obviously the outside this way. I put them all on with this recess facing out. So this is a matter of just putting it on, slipping it through, slipping the bolt through, and tightening up. But I should, oh boy. I should mention to you that this is a really handy tool. So you get a 10 millimeter long extension or long socket, so it'll fit over the bolt very easily. It makes it a lot easier, and you don't really even need to use the wrench on it because finger tight is just good enough. And you want these to be fairly loose so they rotate around, because you're going to have to fiddle with them as you attach it to the chair. Okay, so now this is the fun part. This would be great to have a helper help you hold this as you put it in. Obviously the orientation is this way. So as you put it down, you spin up these connectors to make sure that they're fitting this way, like that. And that's the way to do it. Obviously pretty hard to do single-handed. So it'd be great to have this. My filmmaker is usually holding this at this point. So when you put it in, you use these T-bolts and be sure to put the little black bushing on there as it goes through the hole, through bushing on, then it attach the arm to it. And that's all there is to it. Pretty simple. So it might have been a little bit confusing. You want to make sure that this bushing goes here between the arm and the side of the chair. That's how the bushing sits. And it's got a flat side that you can put towards the arm. See how it's got this little ridge on it? That seems to work. One other small point is they suggest in the instructions that you go diagonally. So put one on and then another one on this side, then work crossways for the last two. So chair is assembled. All we got to do is put the cushions on it and unpack them. But I should mention that these support arms that come up, you know, you don't want to over tighten those. Just finger tight is good enough because you want it to be able to rock. If you get them too tight, you're not going to get a rocking motion. But should work. Well, there's a lot of steps to this. We forgot that one when it was in the shop there, but so it's just now a matter of screwing the feet in. And they're kind of nice because, you know, they screw in. You can put them all the way down, but if you have an uneven surface in your patio or wherever you're putting it, you can adjust the way it sits. And it beats putting a matchbook under it or something like that. Okay. Hi, so this is the conclusion of our little video that we did. You know, we shopped for these chairs and we found them a great deal on Amazon. It's model P2503. They arrived in good shape, actually 2 days early. They didn't come with the right cushions, but they keep sending us more, but they still haven't got the right ones to us. They claim it very easy to assemble, less than 30 minutes. So it took us almost 3 hours to do the first one because the instructions were just wrong. They did send us a fax with updated instructions, but they didn't work so well. So, you know, one of the things to consider, it took about 45 minutes to unpack the first box. There's a lot of packing on it, and you've got a lot of cardboard to disperse with after you're done too. That took almost an hour, and what do you do with all the cardboard? But the chairs look good, and we hope they last a few years.